Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a brief tour of a neighbor of mine's yard. I've actually been over here before and shot a couple other things. I've actually put in some of those autumn Majesty Encore azaleas last year. I needed a place to plant some, and I planted them here in his front yard and filmed that that day. He's got an incredible collection of Camellia japonicas in this yard that I want to show you, but I've come a little past peak. And so they're not, peak flower anymore, unfortunately. You see this window behind me through this gate where you can see the front of his house. This front yard is kind of divided into rooms, and I want to show that off in this video. So let's get started. He's lucky enough to have a second driveway over here. His main driveway is over there. So he's got some additional place to park. It's something that's hard to come by on very small lots. There are several crepe myrtles out here by the road. I know people are going to say something about a couple of them being cut off, and the main reason is because there's so much shade. This one out here is in a little more sun, and you can see how full the top is. That one that's sitting back there a little bit further, unfortunately, had just stretched to the point where it wasn't offering anything. So this 1 year it has been cut back. There's a hydrangea macrophylla, or bigleaf hydrangea, leafing out in that space. I love this entryway right here. This is where I was standing when the video started. There's a rosemary on this side, hydrangea macrophylla on that side. Again, I always talk about these spots of gold color, and there's a Heuchera that's used for that. It's going to be evergreen. Here's one of the many Camellia japonicas you're going to see. I have come a little late, so they're a little bit past at this point, but you can still see there's lots of flowers on them. This has been the best Camellia japonica season I have ever seen. There are a couple of azaleas that invite you in, and a gate in the center of this path. I'm going to back out. There's some spiderwort down here blooming. I wish these things would stay where you put them, but they won't. It can become a little bit invasive. This bed is actually lined with some variegated liriope, which has been cut back, and it's starting to come back out. There's peonies coming back up in the front of this bed, and he doesn't have a lot of sun here, and so the space on the other side of the driveway, which I'm not going to show you today, is his area where he can grow a little bit of food and a lot of sun perennials. Of course, most of those things are asleep right now, but this area out here by the road, like I say, is his main place for that. And then right in this spot, I planted these three autumn Majesty Encore azaleas last year. They were in 1 gallon pots. They're coming along nicely. This is autumn Amethyst. This is another Encore azalea. And on the other side, I'll cut through this bed. I planted these three autumn lily in a video as well. This is a white flowering dwarf one that's just starting to put a few flowers on now. So that is the front space, this kind of front entryway space, and you really just can't see anything from there. You can see up more the top of the house here, but it kind of hides what's waiting for you on the inside. There's a dogwood here, a native dogwood that is in bloom. One thing that kind of, when I walked around just a minute ago, there's a salvia that's blooming. It's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen salvia blooming in March, but that one is. There are a ton of peonies here coming up. There's a very small azalea here. I don't know if it got cut back at some point, what's going on with that, but moving along, we're going to see just tons of Camellia japonicas. I'm going to list some of the varieties on the screen that he has out here, but not try to name them as I go. There are literally thousands of named Camellia japonica varieties, and you can look them up if you're interested in them. Someplace like Camellia Forest in Chapel Hill would be a good resource. That's where a lot of these came from. Beautiful Japanese maple, and like most houses in my neighborhood, there's usually a giant oak sitting over the top of it, dominating the space. There's a spirea here. This may be Van Hoodii. It's got the double flowers just starting to bloom. I would imagine this probably gets too big for this space occasionally, and you can just knock a spirea down to the ground and let it restart. Here's a Mahonia that has flowered already, and now it has the berries coming. Over top of that, another Camellia. And here's one that he's kind of tree formed. There's lots of whimsical art pieces in this space that you'll see come across the camera. I love that about this garden. This is what I think is Jack's Camellia. This was in that Camellia Sweet 16 video competition. You can see the form on Jack's is just perfect. Flowers. Couldn't get a better formal double Camellia. And I just love, like I said, I love the form of this one. I'm going to swing around behind and show you another one. And it's right here. Just absolutely beautiful. Okay. And then there's an azalea right there that's about to open up. And here's a Camellia he just moved. And I have a video on my channel for moving a large Camellia back at the old house. Some people say you can't move them, but here's another one that just got moved, and it's quite well established. So I just walked up this driveway. The camera is actually facing south right now, and that's how he ends up getting that sun out by the road. The rest of the yard probably doesn't matter which direction it's facing, because between the house and the big giant tree, there's not a lot of light getting in here. There's lots and lots of hellebores in this garden, and it's basically mulched with the with Camellia flowers. There's a Heuchera here, another just bright spot of gold in the garden. A lot of newly planted Camellia japonicas, and I'll show you some. He just bought some clearance camellias that he's nursing back to health as well. There's another peony coming up down below. Beautiful weeping Japanese maple. Bananas are coming out already. I hope they haven't come out too prematurely, because we're still 2 more weeks away from our frost-free dates. And then all of these large green plants are Camellia japonicas, and they all still have at least a few flowers left on them. Again, I've come a little bit late to show you these this year. Another upright Japanese maple, maybe like Bloodgood or something like that, creating an understory. These are great understory trees. So you've got the large oak, and then we saw the dogwood along the driveway, and then the upright Japanese maple. And really, these camellias become understory trees as well. They get so big. I'll show you some up close of a few of these. Let me turn this flower upright for you. Look at that. That flower is probably 5 inches across. To put that in perspective, I'm going to go back across here. Here's like an anemone form red variety. I don't think you can see that very well. Right there's a little pocket. Okay, so here's another little room that we're going into. A grafted weeping Japanese maple. Here's what looks like to be a Florida Sunshine Illicium, another little bright spot of gold. Here's an azalea that has started to open up, and I'm going to take a left as I come down closer to the house now. You can see where I've made it to, and come down this sidewalk. I love this brick sidewalk, created out of the bricks laying on their side, and you've got the ones running this way, and then the row that's running that way. Just using something that, you know, is kind of formal and exacting, and turning it into something that's far more interesting. Lots more camellias everywhere we look. And he's been here's all the clearance, a lot of the clearance camellias he just bought that he found that he's bringing up here while they're in bloom so they can enjoy them, and then when they're done, he's moving them to another spot. He's going to be nursing these back to health. Another hydrangea macrophylla. Lots of daffodils down here below. They're almost past in my area. I really love this one. Really love this one. Okay, I've shown this fountain before. It's winter right now, so he's not currently operational. There's some cast iron plants along the side of his garage. I love that clock. Just super interesting things everywhere in this space. Lots more camellias planted back here as well. Some of them are being in the process of being tree formed. Let's get in here close and see one of these flowers right there. How beautiful is that? And there's a hot tub hiding on the other side of this. And there's bamboo actually growing behind a screen. And then the screen itself for the back screen is actually made of bamboo. So I'm turning back toward those containers, and along the edge of this sidewalk, we've got a Gardenia radicans. It's a ground cover gardenia. There's a few of them along this area, and then kind of dominating this space is this giant Osmanthus fragrans, which is still in bloom. They've been blooming since October. We just haven't had any cold to really knock them back. Right here, let's get a look at this. Let's get a look at this camellia. Beautiful variegation. Okay, and I'll walk slowly back to that center spot. And as you can see, straight ahead here is that gate that I was standing on the other side of in the original when the video started. And there's lots and lots of hellebores on the right-hand side of this path. You see them, they've been blooming, I'm sure, for weeks and weeks. Lots more whimsical art pieces in this yard. And down below here, we've got a gold carex. Again, same thing. You know, you're talking about bringing in these splashes of evergreen gold pieces that really stand out in a shade garden like this. Here's a gold hosta coming back up, and then there's some Rohdea japonica in that space. And I want to just kind of come out here, show you where I've come from here. I came from the driveway over there. I showed you that shot on the driveway back down toward the road. Then I came through here. I turned left to go back to the hot tub there, to the right there to go to the gate. And now if I come up in this space, he's actually just put new decking. There's new decking down. It's been a big project out here. In fact, when I was here a few days ago talking, there was still, this project had just been completed, and it's a beautiful patio area. I love the stone wall around the tree. So the edge of this patio, rather than being, the typical whatever kind of wood wall you would build out of it, it's actually been created out of stone. Really nice seating areas. Got a lime growing out here on the patio. That's going to have to go in for the next few nights. It's supposed to be cold. And here's that giant oak that just kind of dominates the landscape here. And if I come back down, underneath there's a Farfugium right there. Mine got knocked back to the ground a little more because it's a little more exposed. His being so protected up in here, it stayed green through the winter. Mine will come back pretty quickly. He's got lots of pots here that get moved around the yard. Right now they're currently just being held together because we're still having some cold nights. Really nice holly fern. And then I've shown these bananas before. These bananas are coming back to life for the spring. I'll walk you slowly through this space. Another banana right there. And these bananas become real giants out here in the landscape. Some of these pots have hosta coming back in them. Lots of hydrangeas in this space. We'll go down here into what amounts to another room. And again, I love the I love this bird bath. Slowly move around this space. There's a fountain here, and it blocks out a lot of the noise coming from the street on the other side of the fence. Here's his nursery. His nursery resides right around this tree right here. You'll notice a lot of these things will get spread out around the yard. I'm here at a time, I was just trying to show you the camellia is still in bloom, but we're another 2 weeks away from our frost-free date, so things are still not necessarily in the homes they are during the growing season. Peonies coming up just everywhere throughout this garden. And again, Camellia japonicas blooming at every turn. Here's a Magnolia grandiflora, and lots of seeding in this space. Another Camellia japonica that has kind of a more of a weeping habit. We'll get closer on these flowers without stepping on a hosta. Beautiful, not fully open, but you can see how beautiful that plant is. There's some winter honeysuckle. There was some out by the road that I forgot to show. Still a few flowers on it. This plant can get a little bossy in the garden, and it is an invasive, but nothing smells like this thing in the late winter. Usually blooms in January. Blooming's been extended a little bit because it's just kind of stayed cool. He's got some stinking hellebores here. This one can be a little more aggressive in time in the garden, but they are beautiful green flowers, which is kind of super interesting. And then two more Osmanthus fragrans that have been planted here on the back side of this patio that will eventually offer some screen to the patio. And then an azalea here that's blooming right behind the patio. And I'm going to go back up on here. I think this may be lemon glow right here. This is one of my favorite camellias. I've got this one in my yard. You see the yellow in the center of it. This one's hasn't been in the ground all that long, same as mine. And I'll come back around through the patio on this side. So I hate I kind of got here past peak on the camellias. It's kind of an in-between time right now where some of the early flowering things have flowered or almost flowered out, but most of the camellias still have at least one or two flowers on them. The thing I love about this landscape is just that it's divided into rooms, and I hope I showed you that, that you know, you turn a corner and you're in a new space, and the next thing is kind of hidden from you. I love the you know, all the pieces that have been added to the garden to kind of bring some whimsy to it, and just the overall, you know, the house being set back is definitely an advantage to be able to divide this out into different sections. It's a little harder when the house is right in the center of the envelope to accomplish that. But thank you guys for following along on the channel. I'll get back over here at some point later in the season and show you when, you know, he has that road area that I didn't show you on the other side of the driveway. Just absolutely comes to life with dahlias and zinnias and just beautiful color. Of course, all the peonies will be in bloom here later in the spring as well. So thanks for following along.